This is gross. Welcome to Ranger Reviews, a web series we look at episodes of the TV show Power Rangers and then discuss them. Today we're exploring the 33rd episode of the show Power Rangers Turbo, as well as the 238th episode overall titled Fire in Your Tank. We begin this episode with TJ zooming around in the Lightning Cruiser telling the others how great the new booster fuel is doing. Carlos and Justin respond saying that he gets 2 more minutes until he sets down to test the next formula. At a dirt track, all the villains are hanging out making monsters and Pirantrons do exercises. They're clearly looking for a new monster. Elgar talks about how bad these cattle calls are. Divotox talks about how everyone is a loser. Rygod suggests a monster named the Mass Muncher, who I'm hoping isn't a carpet-themed monster. Divotox tells Rygod to either shape them up or ship them out. TJ then flies overhead and Divotox sees the Lightning Cruiser and she demands the car. TJ is almost to the rendezvous point to meet Ashley and Cassie. Divotox then bitches about how she wants Lightning Cruiser and she says one monster should be good enough for it. Then a tiger monster starts screaming and he says that he breathes fire and he just lets out some smoke. Divotox is pissed, saying that he sucks, leaving. This monster is determined to prove himself. We see that Bulk and Skull are fire spotters now, looking for fires in the forest. Their post is the lookout tower, and they're somehow confused by this. They have to watch out for anything unusual, and of course, that monster runs by in the background during this moment. TJ meets up with the girls demorphing. He talks about how amazing this booster fuel is, and they get ready to try the next formula. They then hear that monster laughing off screen, and they see him peeking out from behind some bushes. He then tries to breathe fire at them, but it's just smoke again. This monster then decides he needs to regroup, and he disappears before reappearing like 2 feet in front of where he was, grabbing some booster fuel and running away. Shift into turbo. Elgar and Rygog come out of the bushes and they're excited to see an abandoned Lightning Cruiser. Rygog then refers to the monster as Torch Tiger. Lightning Cruiser starts honking and freaking out, which the Rangers hear. They decide to abandon their pursuit of Torch Tiger, but they get ambushed by some Pirantrons fighting them off. Meanwhile, the car horn is going off, but Bulk and Skull don't hear it because they're listening to music and reading Beetleborg comics. Okay, that's awesome. Elgar and Rygog throw a rope net, but they don't get the car. They get all the fuel, and it automatically puts the fuel into their bag. They decide to just try again on the cars, I guess. Meanwhile, Red, Pink, and Yellow are fighting off the Pirantrons and they win. TJ calls Carlos and Justin now, which I feel like they could have done already. Shift into turbo. Blue and Green teleport in front of Elgar and gang, so they send Pirantrons after them too. I feel like this is a really drawn out kidnapping, and I'm getting sick of hearing Lightning Cruiser yell. The other Rangers show up, which makes all the baddies disappear. The cars are fine, but Ashley points out that all the booster fuel is gone. Elgar, Rygog, and Porto are by the lookout tower, talking about how they can't go home without the car. They only got the booster fuel, but Porto explains that this will make her car fly too, so they'll go anyways. And there's a nice moment where Elgar forgets the booster fuel and gets it. Skull says nothing is happening out there. The baddies reveal Divotox's own car to her again, and she's mad, but they explain that it now has booster fuel in it, so it'll fly. Divotox gets into the driver's seat and she starts the engines, yelling, "Viva la Diva!" and flying off. It worked. We then see Torch Tiger on a motorcycle driving around. He then takes out booster fuel and not a bottle of sake, using it as a superpower for his bike, creating flames as he trails away. He gets stoked on how great this is, and then his bike craps out on him. He has an idea though. He's going to put it into his nipple. Also, he has a severe belly button. He then starts going nuts, running around and causing fire to spread everywhere in the forest. Bulk and Skull somehow don't notice all the smoke while reading magazines. In the power chamber, the Rangers see that the forest is on fire. They have to do something about it, so shift into turbo. They get there and TJ immediately calls out the rescue Zords. That's actually a pretty good call. Let's actually use these things for what they're meant for once. They go into high stance mode together and they just use giant fire extinguishers and boulders to stop the fire. Alpha tells the Rangers how Bulk and Skull are in the lookout tower, so TJ is going to take the Lightning Cruiser to save them. Divotox actually flies right past TJ, and Alpha is confused as to what the hell that was. Divotox then says, "It's Divotox, deal with it!" TJ immediately knows where the booster fuel went. She flies right toward the Lightning Cruiser, saying that if she can't have it, no one will. But then her fuel is on E, so she just drops out of the sky. Oh my god, this is hilarious. She crash lands on the ground and she explains that she needs more fuel. But Torch Tiger explains that he already used all the fuel and he shows how he can now spit fire. Divotox sends him out to kill the Rangers and he teleports out. Meanwhile, Bulk and Skull finally figure out that there's smoke everywhere around them and they look out seeing fire everywhere. I thought Bulk and Skull got smarter than this last time I checked. TJ gets visual on them lowering Lightning Cruiser. He hovers by them telling them to jump into the car from the lookout tower, but for a second there, Bulk thinks he means onto the ground, which is funny that the Red Ranger shows up to tell them to kill themselves. They get into the car. Alpha says that the sensors are going crazy because there's a monster in the forest, and the Rangers show up to fight the Torch Tiger, who actually immediately deflects their lasers right back at them. Somehow. Cassie says that everything he does must use his fuel up, so maybe he's running on empty. They charge again, and nope. He hits them back again. Torch Tiger then assumes he destroyed the Rangers, but instead Storm Blaster comes out, hitting him back while TJ fires at him from the Lightning Cruiser. Then the Rangers are on top of a building, mocking him. What is happening? Divatox is bored with this confusion, so she just launches the torpedoes, making Torch Tiger giant. The Rangers call out their rescue Zords, forming the Rescue Megazord. They fight against Torch Tiger, and they really just punch him in the face, and then they use artillery power to fire at him, blowing him up. R.I.P. Fire Pussy. Elgar then shows Divatox her car, and Porto says that he made an evil version of the booster fuel. And Elgar says he mixed it himself, so Divatox makes him test drive it instead. He drives off and the whole car blows up, launching Elgar into a tree. At the youth center, Bulk and Skull are telling a crowd about how they had to be brave against a fire, and they're touching and rubbing up against a freshly painted pole. Everyone laughs. The end. That was disjointed from the rest of the episode. This episode is one of those ones that I always know the episode title of, but I never could have told you what this episode was about. Now I feel like I could tell you it's about booster fuel, and that's pretty much it. It's not the most offensive episode of Turbo by any means whatsoever. It's just kind of there. It's forgettable, and honestly, if someone asked me in a year what the episode Fire in Your Tank is about, I'd probably be hard-pressed to tell you about anything besides the fact that I had a monster that was like a tiger dressed as a karate kid. Also, he had nipple holes and a really weird belly button. Next time is an episode I actually know very well, but until then, may the power protect you.